back every now and then, Baz. You like to get a bit of royalty, a bit of class in the show here. We don't get a lot of it.
And we didn't get any today. So we've had to get Georgie.
I feel that's a bit harsh. A very special guest and a legend of the Port Adelaide Footy Club, George Fiacchi, joins us. George, how are you?
Very good. Especially after that introduction here, fantastic.
Yeah, I apologise for Baz straight up, mate.
Yeah,
so, mate, chairman of the harness racing, a life in footy as well. That just keeps rolling along for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's all good fun. Keeps life exciting. You've got lots of challenges, and they're all going well at the moment, thank God.
Are they?
The challenges you face right now, mate, are huge. And I'm only saying that because of what I read. And I do try to keep up with it as much as I can. But, mate, they've been throwing some heavy rocks at harness racing SA for the last couple of months. Really, really, I haven't seen a positive article about SA harness racing in that period.
I'll just let George compose himself because he's already staggered by the part that you said you were reading.
Yeah.
So that threw him off at the start.
Yeah, look, it's been tough. Of course, it's been tough, and we get lots of negative press. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff happening in harness racing, and look, how long's the show going to go for? I can tell you all the great stuff that's happening, but it has to sort itself out. Harness racing's been its own victim for the last 15 years, and it needs to turn itself around, which is what we're trying to do at the moment as a new board. So we're in there trying to turn the fortunes of the racing industry around, which we're starting to see. COVID was fantastic for us because we were able to sit back, peel it all back, find out what's worked, what doesn't work, and now we're starting to move out of it, and we're actually starting to see some real green shoots, which is the real positive.
Okay, what are you fighting against, George? What is the major hurdle here for you as the chairman?
Internal. It's all internal. Yeah, the racing club at Globe Derby has been mismanaged for 15 odd years, and it continues to do that. And it's just in this downward spiral, and they've just got their head buried in the sand, and they won't come out of it. Won't allow anyone to help them. So that's our biggest issue at the moment. Once we knock that over, harness racing, you'll see, will start to get some positive press.
Because it was a terrific sport. It was a great sport. I had a brother.
Still
Peter,
is, Baz. Still is.
My brother Peter was a great fan of the harness racing, and we would go every now and then. But it's a great sport. It's something that just died. It just sort of was there, and then boom, then you didn't see it again. It just disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it did. But it's been there. There's a core of hardcore people who've been around for years. So now we're starting to get them and starting to get the next generation coming through. Harness racing's affordable for everyone too, by the way. Anyone can own a horse. For the sake of a couple of grand, you could be a partner in a horse. So it's actually quite exciting to be involved, and for me it's a new industry, but I'm actually really enjoying the last 6 months have been really good, so I'm starting to see some positive signs, and that's what we're working on.
George, you sat on the board of the Port Adelaide Footy Club, so you've been there through the good times, you've been there through the bad, so you come into this environment where at the moment it's not as good as you'd like it to be. And we put it in sporting terms, it takes a while to get systems in play for the players to understand. When you put a board together, how long do you reckon, through your experience, does it before the board starts working really well together?
Oh, look, I think you need a good 12 months to get a lay of the land where you're at. You have to, you've got to go through all the rubbish, peel it all back and say what's actually the truth. Where is the truth in all this? And you start to see it all. So after 12 months, you will really start to see you've got your business plan in place. You understand where you want to go, where you want to take it, and you understand what your hurdles are. So you work through that. We've been there 6 months at the moment, and we're really starting to see where we need to go now, and we're very clear about what our priorities are, what needs to change, and that's what we're working on at the moment.
So sometimes on a team list, I'm not trying to compromise you here, but you've got to jettison some people. You just have to for it to move forward. When you come into an environment, you're saying in 12 months' time, and maybe it doesn't happen. This board's really good, but you've been a part of it where you have to jettison someone off the board. It's the most difficult thing to do. What advice would you give to someone that had to do that?
To get rid of someone off the board?
Yep.
Oh, look, I think you've just got to be compassionate. You've got to understand that, and you have those conversations. If you're doing your job properly as a chairman, you're having regular conversations and going, this is not working, this is where it needs to be, this is what I need from you, your expertise is this, we're not performing in that. And eventually, they'll make decisions themselves if you do it correctly. So you don't need to go in there cutting people. We've got a good board, by the way. We've got two new ones coming on, about to come on. So they're actually just advertising for new two board members at the moment. So the newbies that have come in have brought some real different perspectives for it, because in the past it's been all harness racing and they're all gone harness racing. No, it's not about harness racing. Your core target market is a punter out there who doesn't understand harness racing like you do. Stop worrying about what you worry about your core target, which is the punter. And we've seen wagering revenue fly as a consequence. So we're really starting just to build the product, make sure it's there, it's consistent, and make it accessible to people. That's what we're really focused on at the moment.
What's coming up, George? What is happening with harness racing now?
What's happening? Well, look, we're coming out of COVID slowly, so all our prize money will start to go back up.
Yeah.
So we've moved from we had 3 meetings on, which was fantastic during COVID. We were able to put an extra meeting on.
Yeah.
So we're going back to a Saturday, Monday meeting, and now our country venues will start to kick. So Port Pirie will start to come in. Then we'll go to Mount Gambier come November, and then we'll have the country series around Strathalbyn and Victor over the summer period. So that's where the future's looking at the moment. We're also really working hard to increase our prize money. I think the industry needs a bit of a kick, bit of an injection.
Yeah.
So we're working with the government at the moment to get the prize money right. But we also got to get rid of what's been holding us back. We've got to sort out the Globe Derby mess, and the sooner that's done, the better the harness racing can go forward.
What's the mess there, George? You've got to sort out a mess. It is a mess. Where is the mess?
Well, you've been reading the press. You should see you should understand what the mess is. It's look, the people running it mismanaged, totally mismanaged,
Okay.
And losing money hand over fist. Over the last 14 years, something like $7 million loss. They lose something ridiculous like over the last 3 years on average. It's been about $2.5 or $26,000 that they lose per week. It's just crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
You can't give that sort of money away. So how they lose it, I've got no idea.
Okay.
Well, that's part of what ebbs into the part that you're talking about. We want the prize money. Well, obviously the prize money can go up if we can stop that bleeding.
Yeah, well, the
which
clubs are
attracts more
independent, so
people.
we're the governing body. So that's what people don't really understand. HRSA is the governing body. They're a racing club, just like a footy club. They run their own race, and that's what they do. But they're not. They're trying to be a gambling mecca restaurant, and it's not working. It's losing money for them at the consequence of racing. So we've pushed them away. So get away. We will control racing, and we have been controlling racing. It's really starting to kick now. So that's the focus of us.
All right, mate. Sounds like you're on lots of winners. Before we let we go, we've got to talk about the footy, mate. Of course, Port Adelaide have been motoring along pretty well.
I actually thought I was coming here to talk about footy, but that's all right. You guys take it wherever you want.
No, mate, we just a little bit, mate. Brisbane, of course, got them last week. Do we read anything into that? You've been around long enough. Do we just say it was a blimp?
Yeah, look, I'd like to call it a blip. It was really disappointing to watch on Saturday night because we didn't really have that, didn't seem to kick after quarter time. We sort of lost our momentum.
Yeah.
But, in hindsight, now you look back and go, you know what, maybe it's something we had to do. Yeah, look, we've been away from home for a while. I'm not making excuses, but, Brisbane been home. It's their track, and they're playing really, really well. So I really want to see how we respond this week to GWS, and then I'll start to form some opinions about that.
The interesting thing about that, George, is, and we spoke about it earlier on, what do I think about Ports on the weekend? Brisbane 4 games in a row at the Gabba, which is it's okay, that's their ground, and they played and they're playing really well. But the only game that they've lost is one that was away. So read what you like into whatever. I think Port Adelaide would be really happy with coming home 4-1.
Yeah, well, I think our home ground should be Metricon now. We haven't lost a game there, so
right.
yeah, so we should just keep playing at Metricon. I'm happy with that.
For sure.
Hey, George, always great to catch up with you, mate. Appreciate your time. Hope things start to get a little bit clearer. Sounds like you're on a good path on the harness racing, mate, and they're lucky to have you. George Fiacchi, our special guest. Back in a moment.